Actually, I think I put a space between my marker marks.
Ah, okay. Yep, that'll do it.
Thank
So
you.
I'm glad you're okay then.
All right.
Okay, someone said I'm not finding the tenant. So very quickly, for those of you, if you're uncertain how to find the tenant, I have a little quick job aid. I'm just going to change the layout of the classroom for a quick second. Bear with me. And this will show you how you find the tenant. Just make sure you log in to Knowledge Map Live. Under the Deploy section, scroll down and find today's class. Give it a click, and you should be able to scroll down and see the tenant button. And when you click on the tenant button, it will bring up this launch button, and you'll be able to see the logon screen. So check that out. Private chat, that should help you find your tenant and material, both on Knowledge Map Live. All right, I'm going to pop back over to the lobby screen for just a moment. Yeah, I'm going back there now, private chat, so hang loose. Hang on just a second here. There we go. All right, this is for Workforce Dimensions, admin, essentials for Dataviews. One of, I think, honestly, the coolest classes we offer. For logging into the tenant, try logging in as Michael Martin. There's no space between the first and the last name. The password is automate1 exclamation mark. Has to be a capital A. If you enter both of those as I've written on the board, you should be able to get logged in. If not, reach out now to KVC support at kronos.com for assistance. Okay, got a few minutes to get any technical issues addressed before we jump on the tenants. So I'm going to go ahead and change the whole layout now, and we're going to get into the classroom. And welcome to each and every one of you. Names I've seen before and some new names. And I'm Carolyn, joining you from very sunny central Kentucky today. And yeah, we're gearing up for the Derby. Go ahead and grab your books. Let me get rid of my drawing on the board, on the material. Keep in mind, those of you that have dialed in, please don't put the call on hold. Remember, microphones have been enabled, so as a courtesy to your fellow classmates and me, be mindful of that. Mute your microphone or your phone. You can do so up at the top in the Adobe menu bar. Just you should see a phone or a microphone icon, and to the right of it, the ability to mute. All right, the reason why I think this is such a fun class is because Dataviews are a tool that has the capability to display meaningful data when you want to analyze data and then maybe you want to act on a group of employees or perhaps a location in your organization. But it gives you immediate access to information. And within a data view, you can do things like sort and group columns and filter and even perform calculations. So if that has your interest piqued, this is definitely the right spot for you. If you'll go ahead and join me in the book, let's look at the course introduction. This is found on page 1. If you're viewing electronically, it's PDF 4. This course is designed to help you identify key concepts around data views, but also to get some hands-on practice on how you would go about updating a data view or even creating data views. So you'll have an opportunity to do both in this session. Now, most times you'll find that if there are changes that are needed, configuration can be started just by simply modifying an existing data view or perhaps taking an existing data view and making a copy of it and then tweaking it a bit. As for our course objectives, we're going to look at the process for creating or updating a data view. We will update a data view doing things like adding columns or inserting a chart and adding sums. And I already mentioned it, but to say again, creating a couple of new data views, an employee data view and a business structure data view. For our case study, we'll use our good friends at MVP Athletics, just a fictitious sporting goods, athletic footwear, active apparel type of company. And we are going to log in as different personas. Sean Ivan, who will do our system admin work. Michael Martin, who's going to be your needy department manager today. Molly Adams, an hourly employee, and I'm going to add one more that you might just jot down to the side. Holly Ivan, no relation to Sean, but she's kind of like the change management manager. She can get into the people record and provide profile assignments Sean Ivan can't. And one of the things I want to make sure that you see is profile assignments in the people record, and then we'll kind of track them down, see them out in the system. Any of the personas that are in this table, all of them, no spacing between the first and the last name, all of them will use the same password, automate1! So let's go ahead and do a little talking about data views. Probably one of the most important illustrations in your book can be found on page 2 or PDF 5. And I'm going to make this just a little bit larger on my screen. If not for you, it's certainly for me. My superhero eyesight is still slumbering in bed, I think. On my screen here, I'm going to squeeze in just above display profile people information, and you might do that as well. Now, why do I think this is such a great illustration? Because honestly, folks, it is your roadmap to building and granting access to data views. Here's a tip for you. You build from the bottom up. You build from the bottom up. So I am going to talk with you about these items and just kind of change the order a little bit. I'm going to talk about them from top to bottom, but again, the build approach is bottom to top. People information, profiles, rules, who I report to, badge number, a lot of information in the people information record, but one of those items is the display profile. You'll hear Kronos refer to it as a master profile. That display profile can contain multiple components, but it also will have multiple profile assignments, and one of those is the data view profile. The data view profile, quite simply, grants access to the data views that an end user can see. Did you notice I said an end user? I didn't say a manager, nor did I say an employee, but an end user, because data views are accessible by any job role. In your data view profile, if you've got a data view, doesn't matter if you're a manager role or an employee role, you can view a data view. Now, I will say that you might have one data view profile that's assigned in numerous display profiles, or there might be a one-to-one ratio. But again, it's all about the specific data views that the end user can access, and it's assigned in the display profile. Let's talk about data view management. Data view management, that's where you actually create or update data views. It's here that we determine things such as the when. So in other words, I'm talking about the time period that I want to view in a data view. Whether I want to view information by hyperfine for who do I want to see, or by location. What columns do I want in my data view? And there are other attributes that you'll see along the way that we'll discuss today. The data dictionary is your storehouse or repository. It defines all of the available data or information in the system, and it might bring information from different domains or functional areas. So I'm talking about, like, say, from accruals or leave, attendance, scheduling, maybe people information. You're going to find there's a huge number of entities that allow you to get very granular, if you want, coming from timekeeping. But that's what we mean when we say the domain. Where's that information coming from? And we have analytics. So if your organization has used analytics to create any calculations on data, that's also available in the data dictionary. Just understand that not all data views require analytics. But this is, again, your roadmap. I have a quick question for you. You can tell me in chat. When you build and work with a data view, what approach do you take? Top to bottom or bottom to top? Good. Bottom up. Bottom to top. That's right. Good, good. Okay, let's go ahead then and move on to a little more concept crunching, not much, just to kind of drive the point home about a few things. You can join me. This is going to be over on page 5 or PDF 7. Okay. Make sure I'm right about that page number. Yep. No. This is actually page 4, PDF 7. Sorry about that. you're going to find that there are two different types of data views in the system. There are employee view data views. You'll sometimes hear them referred to as a people data view. When I look at the data view, I'll see individual employees listed line by line by line. And a good example of an employee data view would be an exception count by employee. There's business structure data views, also sometimes referred to as a location data view. And this gives you the ability, it summarizes data by locations and jobs. It can allow a manager to drill into different components of your organization's defined business structure. Of course, it's according to their access rights. But it might be that I would prefer to view exceptions by department as opposed to by employee. We've talked about the data dictionary before. I said for you to think of it as what? Anybody remember what I said? Think of the data dictionary as, can you fill in the blank? Might have missed that one. Oh, let's see. Ruth? Repository. Good. Ruth is like, she's there. Good for you, Ruth. Big round of applause. Yeah, it's like your repository or your storehouse, right? But it's the source of all the data, and you use the data dictionary to select the columns that you want. Now, on this page, this is showing you a table that you're going to see are referred to out in the system as column properties. Okay? The data dictionary structure consists of these items, and you'll see them when we look at the column property dialog box. Entity, category, column name, description, and type. Let's break each down. There's some important information to share with you here. The entities relate to the functional area or the transactional area, the domain in Workforce Dimension. So if I need data, what entity is going to deliver that type of data for me? Where's it coming from? Is it timekeeping, scheduling, analytics? That's what we mean by the entity. The category describes the data provided by the column and provides the classification for the available data columns. The column name, probably one of the most important items listed here on the table. I want you to understand that the uniqueness of the data column isn't based on the name. You'll see data columns actually with the same name, but picking the right data column is going to be based on a combination of the entity, category, and column name. Together, these determine the data that are going to be returned. You'll also see description, just that additional information about the data in the column. And then there are types. They only mention one here, but there are actually 4 different types in data views, also in reports for that matter. So if you are a note taker, the 4 different types: date, number, Boolean, and string. If you're like, Boolean, what is that? So those are those true or false values. that return by comparison operators or logical operators. And the strings are just array data structures of bytes of words. Don't get too bogged down in all of that. Remember, I said the three most important things out of this table that work together: entity, category, column name. Now, there is an important note on this page here. Talks about the relationship between entities is defined to ensure that you create a data view. When you create it, you can quickly select data columns that work together and generate valid results. All right, let's break that down and put it into some good old plain English. This is probably one of the biggest gotchas that people run into when they work with data views. When you add data or different entities, the application can automatically determine what works well together and what doesn't. It's going to figure out if there's a good relationship there to help you determine whether or not putting that information together will make sense. So there are some background relationship rules that are defined to make logical common selections. So for instance, Jillian, it wouldn't make sense to add a column in a data view for pay code names if you've got a column that's displaying accrual balance amounts. That just doesn't make sense. You want to select data columns that will work well together and generate valid results. And if you're like me, you might be thinking, oh, well, gosh, the pressure. So if you're wondering how do you go about making sure you select columns that work well together, I have good news for you. When you look at the data view editor, there's actually a field called column relationship rules. It's nothing more than just a little checkbox, and by default it's enabled, and those rules will control the column options you see as you begin to make your selections for your data view. Now, those rules are only applied when that box is checked. It is a recommended practice to keep the box checked. Yes, you can clear that checkbox and create your own personal column combinations, but remember, you're trying to ensure that the data works well together. All right, just a couple more little quick notes. The data view profile, plain and simple, grants access to the data views that an end user has. Nothing more than a table of all the data views that exist in the system. And Barb, if I want you to have certain data views, I go into the profile assignment and just click and it highlights them and checks them off. That's all it is. The data view profile, though, remember it is assigned in the display profile. So a nice little screenshot there to let you know what's ahead for you. And bringing us back one more time to the display profile, remember it's the master profile. Going to find a lot of profile assignments in there, one of them being the data view profile, and they're just trying to draw your attention to it. So not a very good straight line. I don't know why I can't draw a straight line anymore. Just can't. I'll give it one more whirl. Still a little wavy, but not as bad. But that's where the data view profile is assigned in the display profile. Lot of information coming at you to get us started. Any questions at the moment for me about the roadmap, the bottom to top approach, what is the column relationship rules? If you have no questions for me, you can just respond simply by giving me a red thumb down. Oh, I fooled you, didn't I? I fooled some of you. And if you're like, where's the red thumb down? Just above our names on the right-hand side. There's a little hands up pod. Or you can even tell me in chat. Whatever works for you works for me. All right, I'm going to count on you good folks to reach out to me if you have questions, concerns, comments. In the meantime, though, we need to start touching the software. So I want you to work with me for a few minutes. Okay, we're going to get in and see some things, put some dots together, and then we'll tackle some exercises. So go ahead and grab your tenant. Any of you that are still having issues with your tenant, remember KVC support at Kronos.com should be getting you squared away or assisting you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have it standing by. Here we go. Now I can validate what I'm showing on the screen, and I also can still monitor chat. I would like everyone to be logged in as Michael Martin, and that password was automate1 exclamation mark. Got to be a capital A. So go ahead and get logged in. And we're just going to take a quick look, get kind of a perspective from of a data view and some things that perhaps Michael Martin can do for himself. If you're logged in as Michael Martin, from the top left on the main menu, give that a click. Drop down to Data Views and Reports. Give that a click and go to Data View Library. I want to point out to you, top middle of your screen, page you're viewing, Data View Library. Top left, right under the main menu in the home icon, you see it says total 11. So that total, of course, is the number of data views Michael has access to. Where you see analytics in bold and then it says attendance and other on the left-hand side, running down the left-hand side of your screen, those are the domains where the information is pulling from. Drawing your attention back to the very top one, analytics, category 1 count. The name is Department Analytics. The subject tells you if it's a business structure or if it is an employee data view. So attendance, Jeannie Page, is an employee data view. Department Analytics, a business structure. I'd like you to look at those categories on the left-hand side, scroll down and find Other, and the data view I'd like you to click on is named DM Employee Summary. DM Employee Summary. It's an employee data view. Give that a click. You shouldn't be too surprised because it is an employee data view that we're seeing all the employees listed line by line. Take a look at the top middle, of course, that's the name of the data view. Over to the right, the default time period, the default show, in this case via a hyperfind, all home. To the right of all home, your refresh button and what time this page loaded onto the screen. Details is a new button. Details, so if you want to give that a click, it's going to slide out a little panel and this is going to be how to control how the currency is displayed in a data view. Now the default is logged in user. I'm going to point that out to you when we look at the data view editor. Okay, there is another option. I just want to say that for this release, logged in user is the only working selection. But I'll point it out when we get into the editor. But details is a new button. Now you can close that slide out panel just by clicking the X on the right hand side. The share button, separated value file, or print your data view. And I'm going to talk about restore and save here in just a moment. Left-hand side are some working buttons for working with the people record or making timekeeping edits and so forth. All right. What I'd like for you to do is to notice the 4 columns that are in the data view. We've got employee full name, employee ID, employee payroll, and expected daily. Now, I don't know about you, but I would have liked expected daily hours to immediately have followed the employee full name. Hey, it's my story. My story, play with me. We don't have to reach out to the system admin. Let's take care of it ourselves. Go to the expected daily hours column, header, left click on your mouse and drag that column to the left. Take it over there, just past employee ID and let go. There you go. So you can rearrange any column order as long as the column heading is blue. If it's in black, it's either the primary column sort or it's a column that's been grouped. Now, let's play a little more. I'm thinking, looking at the employee ID column, you know, I'm really just not feeling it. Let's not even have it in our data view. On the right of your column headings, there's a drop-down arrow. Give it a click. There are different options, certainly sorting, ascending, or descending. Let's hide the employee ID column. Just give it a click and hide it. Now, if you're thinking, oh my gosh, what if I change my mind and I want that back? Well, we can bring it back if we want to. We're not ready to go there yet, though. You know, I'm looking at the employee payroll column, and I really think maybe that should have followed the employee full name column. So let's just reorder again. You know how to do it. Just click on the column heading and drag it left. And yes, you can drag right. Just so happens we're going left right now. The GPS is in the left-hand turn lane. All right, I'm looking at the employee payroll column, and I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot of duplicates in there. I see biweekly, manufacturing biweekly several times, empties in there several times, manufacturing biweekly. Gosh, it's a mess. Let's go to the column heading. Click that drop-down arrow, and let's group this column. Group it. Now watch what happens. Remember what I said, primary column and a grouped column are going to have black column headings. Now you don't see all these duplicates for manufacturing and full-time and empty and so forth. They're all grouped and collapsed over on the left-hand column. Let's do a couple of other interesting things. On the grouped by column, click the drop-down arrow and put a count on it. Count. This is going to tell us the number of employees that are in each group. And if you're like, well, yeah, but now my employee full name column is blank. It's okay. Let's see how to take care of that. Go to, say, manufacturing biweekly part-time. Expand it. It says 14 employees. Now in the employee full name column, you see who those employees are, and you also see their daily expected hours. Go ahead and collapse your grouped by column selection where you went to manufacturing biweekly. Just go ahead and collapse it or close it back up for a second. You know, I'm wondering on the expected daily hours column, I'm wondering what the sum of all those hours are. So click the drop-down arrow, and there's sort, ascending, descending. We don't want to hide. I don't want maximum or minimum or averages. Do sum. So now what it's letting you know, look at the kind of information we're getting on this data view. Now it's letting you know for the manufacturing biweekly part-time payroll group, 14 employees in the group, a total of 112 expected daily hours today. They account for 112 hours out of the grand total 632. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking I'm liking how this data view is looking. We can still do a few more things though. Over on the right-hand side of your screen, just above that vertical scroll bar, you've got a funnel icon, a filter icon. Give that a click. Show filter rows. Give that a click. Choose that. Show filter rows will give you operators and blank fields. So, for instance, under the employee full name, do you want to find an employee whose name starts with, doesn't start with, custom equal, not equal to? See all the different options. And then under the expected daily hours, there are different operators there as well. Click the drop-down arrow. Okay, not the column heading drop-down arrow, but the drop-down arrow in the equal field just above the blank cell. So you can have no filter, you can have it's equal to or not equal to. That's what the exclamation equal sign is. Greater than, less than. You see the different ones. Go ahead and click on the funnel icon again and hide your filter row. And I'm going to ask you to click that filter icon one more time. Notice 2 of the 4 columns show hidden. The employee ID, because we elected to hide it, and the employee payroll is because it's been grouped. You want to bring back the employee ID column? Just click it. Click it right there from that list of columns that are hidden. There you go. Now it's back. So let's say that we've got this data view. We're feeling it. We like it. You can go ahead and click on Save at the top right. And now your data view will have your personal preferences. But let me bring up a couple of important points. Let me see who I can abuse. Well, I'll just randomly pick a few of you, and we'll say that you all work together. How about that? So we've got Lisa, Melba, Michelle, and Nick. All of you will say you work for the ABC company, and all of you have access to this DM employee summary, this Dataview. Lisa goes in and she puts all these personalized configuration choices on it. Now, it's not going to impact Melba or Michelle or Nick because everybody has their own copy of it. Okay? Understand that what you're viewing is your copy of it. So your personal preferences are just that. They are yours. Now here's something else that's really important you need to know. If a manager saved their modified preferences, do configuration, and we'll need to, if we've added personalization to a data view, restore it in order to see those changes. Go over to your main menu, top left. I'd like you to sign out as Michael Martin, and for a brief minute, sign in as Holly Ivan. Holly Ivan. Remember, no space between the first and the last name. Password is still automate1 exclamation mark. The reason I'm having you log in as Holly is I want to show you connect the dots, right? I said that the display profile is assigned in the people record. Have to know the display profile so we can find out the data view profile. Have to look at the data view profile to know what data views you have. So we're just connecting the dots. From the main menu, go give it a click, drop down to maintenance, to people information. On the left-hand side, you are currently looking at David Adams, but right above his name is a blank cell. Type in Martin, comma, space, M-I. That's all you have to type. Martin, comma, space, M-I. Boom. You find Michael Martin. Go ahead and click on Michael's name so that you're viewing his record now. Under the summary of information, you've got a category, and directly under there, see where it says Access Profiles? Expand that, and there are all these different profiles, but the one we want is the display profile name. So I jotted it down. It's Manu Display Profile. That's someone's weird abbreviation for manufacturing. But anyway, we need to know the display profile so we can find the data view profile. Now that's all you need from here. Go to your top left to the main menu, give it a click, drop down to Administration and Application Setup. You're going to see all these blue bars, which are, some people will refer to them as groups. Some will refer to them as folders. I kind of go between the two sometime. In the middle column, do you see the folder titled Display Preferences? Third one from the top. Give that a click to expand it. And I want to point out something to you. This is where we working with the data view. Okay? First off, notice the very top item is the display profile. We're going to go there in a minute. But then under display profile, you have another category called display profile building blocks. And directly under it, you find the data view profile. Okay? Drop on down, see the black text that says Information Access, another category, and directly underneath it, Data View Management. It's where you build, maintain data views. So all right here in the Display Preferences folder. All right, we're going to start by clicking on Display Profiles. Go ahead and give that a click. It's going to show you a rather large table of all the display profiles created in the system. Now, yeah, you could scroll to find Manu Display Profile, but let's make it easy on ourselves. Top left, click the Filter button. Remember, the Filter button can give me those blank cells. Under the Name column, type MANU. Doesn't care if it's upper or lowercase. M-A-N-U. And just like that, it says, well, I found 3 profiles that start with Manu. What one do you want? We want the one, Manu Display Profile. Give it a click to highlight the line, and at the top right, click on Edit. We're not going to make any changes. We're window shopping. On the left-hand side, we've got the name, the description, default profile, home page, duration format, shift labels, hyperfine query profile, and bing, 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 there's the data view profile. You jot it down exactly as you see it. So this one is also called Manu, but it's got underscore data view underscore profile. You jot it down exactly as you see it. Now that's all you need from here. So go to the top left and click on the house icon That's referred to as the home icon. Give it a click. It'll take you back out to setup where our display preferences folder is expanded. Data view profile. Let's go look at it. So still in display preferences. Okay. Data view profile right under the display profile building block category. Data view profile. Give it a click. Not quite so many data view profiles here, so I think it'll be pretty easy just to find the name rather than filter for it. I found menu underscore data view profile, highlight it, and at the top right, click edit. Again, we're window shopping. A name, a description. You saw this in your book. There was a screenshot of it. And I said, hey, if I want to give, let's say, Jen a data view, I find out the data view profile, and I grant access just by checking off the data view and saving at the top right. Now, we're not going to change anything, but if you look in that list, you're going to see DM employee summary. They're listed alphabetically. You see it? It's checked off. That's how Michael Martin has it. All right, go back to your home icon. Give it a click. And let's drop down to Data View Management. Let's go for the gusto. Data View Management. This is going to show you all the data views that are created in the system. You want to find a data view on this list. Use the filter button on the left-hand side and the label column. Filter button, give you those blank cells, and go to the label column, and I want you to type DM space. That should be all you have to type. System came back and said, I found two. What one do you want? So we're going to take a look at DM employee summary. Highlight it, and at the top right, do edit. We're not making any changes. Window shopping. First thing I want to point out to you, take a look on the far left-hand side. The field name is Data View Key. This is a unique identifier for the data view. End users don't see it unless you don't enter a label. Now, if you're like, a label, what are you talking about? So look below the data view key. There's the description field, and right below it, the label. This is what the end user sees. Okay, this is end user facing. The data view key is for us as the admin. But our end users will see the data view key if we don't enter a label. And the other thing is, folks, once you enter the data view key and you save this page, you might notice that our data view key has a little typo error. And I swear I didn't do it. Some people would argue otherwise. Let's see what else is on the screen. There's the time frame. We saw it. It said today, and it was using hyperfines for all home. I said, hey, it's pulling from the other category. And then there's that currency displayed as option that I was showing you earlier. I was talking about. And remember, I said that for now, in this release, that's the only working selection. But for a later release, it's planned that you can make the option between logged in user or employee assigned. Again, it's controlling how currency will be displayed in a data view. Column relationship rules. You might remember me saying something about that. That big gotcha. This is that checkbox that I talked to you about. Okay? This one, when this data view was created, they unchecked the box, not the recommended practice. But here's the thing. Just like with the data view key, if you check or uncheck the relationship rule box and save the page, can't change your selection once the page is saved. Scroll down a little bit, and you come to the columns that made up our data view we looked at earlier. And again, I point your attention to the label column. So employee full name, ID, payroll, expected daily hours. I'd like you to click on expected daily hours. Just click on that row. It's going to highlight it. And over on the right, do edit. It's going to bring up the column property dialog box. You said you're going to see these 5 columns. The entity where the data is pulling from, the category, the classification, the column name. Remember I said it's not the name that makes it unique. Remember me talking about that? I think you do. Or the uniqueness of the data column isn't based on the column name. I think that's what I said. There's the description, and look, the type. This one's a number. Now, the label, you can go with what the system offers, or, you know, maybe you're like, yeah, I want to abbreviate hours. Okay, you could do that. The pixel width, of course, is how wide the column is going to be. 100 is the default. If you try to go outside of that range that's listed there, you'll get an error. Do I want the column to be visible by default or hidden? And in this case, we made it visible. And then, can I do any calculations on this column? So if you click the drop-down arrow, well, I know that if you're following my screen, it's hashed out, but if you click the drop-down arrow, you should see your options. None, some, average, max, and min. Now, again, we're not changing anything. I'm just bringing you here so that you can kind of tie the pieces together. You know, the hip bone connected to the thigh bone to the knee bone, and so forth. On the bottom right would be where you would update your column. Top right of that dialog box, you can close it by clicking X. Another thing I'd like to show you, left-hand side, reorder button, give that a click. Reorder button. It's going to bring up a small menu option. Do you want to reorder the visible columns or the grouped? Well, visible. And now a little dialog box appears. Employee full name is in the top position, so that's that primary column we saw with the black heading, right, when we looked at the data view. I would like to have the order go employee full name, payroll, hours, and then the employee ID. So click on employee ID, just click the line, it'll highlight it, activates the buttons on the left, and you can move them up or down into the position that you want them. And then once you have that table in the order that you want, understanding that the top row is representing the farmost left column of your data view, you can save your order. Take a look, though, at the table at the bottom. It doesn't impact the order there. It's just the dialog box giving us the ability to reorder, and it's just the table at the bottom letting us know what columns are there, but it does not impact it. All right, if you will go to the top right of your screen and click Cancel, you'll get a message that you're going to lose changes. Yes, please lose those. At the top left, 2 tabs, People Information and Manage Data Views. I'd like you to click the X to close Manage Data Views. That will get us out of Setup. And now we can go back to the the main menu. Give that a click and sign out as Holly Ivan. You always want to make sure that there's just one tab at the top left when you go to log into Workforce Dimensions. And I always tell people you can either pay me now or pay me later, but somewhere you're going to pull out your wallet, meaning close the extra tab before you sign out or sign out and close the extra tab. All right, I'm going to pop back over into the classroom for just a moment because just going to kind of spot check on everyone. And we're going to get after some exercises together. So you've seen a lot of information thus far. I'm counting on you to reach out to me if you have questions, comments, concerns. So let's do this. If you are raring to go, no questions, how about giving a round of applause? That's that blue prayer-looking hand. You raring to go? I was hoping you would say that. Okay. Let's go ahead and find out our Michael Martin needy department manager what he's going to want. So let me draw your attention to our exercises we're going to do. If you'll go ahead and take a look, this is going to be page 7, PDF 10. We're going to start by updating an employee data view. Okay, so the scenario is this. Michael Martin, who's a department manager, let's say he's reviewed the accrual information data view for his employees, and he notices that primary job column isn't there, and he would like to have it added. So we are going to add a column. We're going to reorder. He's not going to want to see the hire date, so we're actually going to delete a column. We'll take care of that for him as well. And then we'll see what Michael thinks of everything. Okay, so I'd like for you to go back to your tenant, log in as Michael Martin. I think it's important to see where you're coming from to where we're trying to go. Again, your password, of course, is automate1! exclamation mark. And once you're logged in as Michael Martin, go ahead and from the main menu, drop down to Dataviews and Reports to the Dataview library. This one will be under the Other category as well. We want to take a look at DM accrual info. Give it a click. I'm going to ask you some questions, and if you can comfortably hit text chat, I would appreciate participation if you know an answer. Question, are there any hidden columns? Are there any hidden columns? Jen and Larry, Nick, Diane are all saying no. How are you finding out? How were you able to find that out? Hey, Larry, said look at the filter. Yeah, on the right-hand side, remember, above your vertical scroll bar, click that funnel or filter icon. It looks like a funnel to me. And you can see all the columns that are checked off, and there aren't any hidden. Perfect. Good. All right, so Michael looks at this, and he's not happy with the hire date. He's not happy there's not a primary job. He's just needy, so we're going to take care of him. You can go ahead and sign out as Michael Martin. Go to your main menu, sign out, and please sign in as Sean Ivan. Sean Ivan. Of course, password is still automate1 exclamation mark, capital A. Once you get logged in, we're going to go ahead and make our way to Setup. So from your main menu, go ahead and drop down to Administration to Application Setup. Now, we're kind of fortunate in the fact that we're not needing to look up the profile assignments. I want to mention that. Okay? We already know. Michael Martin is assigned the Manu Display Profile, and we know Michael Martin was assigned the Manu underscore Dataview underscore profile. So we know those pieces of the puzzle, but I want to make sure that I stress to you good folks that you would need to know that information. So we looked at it once, and we're going to work off of that, but it would be an item that you would need to either discover on your own, or perhaps you have a change management manager that lets you know. All right, you're logged in as Sean Ivan. Hang on just a second. I don't know why I went back to Michael Martin. I was like, where are all my folders? All right, once you are logged in as Sean Ivan and you're setting out there on Setup, we're going to drop down to Dataview Management. Dataview Management in the Display Preferences folder. Okay, Dataview Management. For some reason, I'm having a little bit of a hiccup trying to get logged in. I'll be with you in just a second. Hold on, I'm going to try to just reset that and see if it behaves. There we go. And there we ended on don't go. Hang on just a moment. I'm going to close that. I'm not displaying anything. Just give me just a second. I'll try that again. In the meantime, use your filter on the left-hand side, and in the label, you're looking for DM accrual info. Once you find it, go ahead and click on the line. That'll highlight it, and up at the top right, you're going to choose Edit. Before you click Edit, do you notice there's not a duplicate? There's Create, there's Edit, there's Delete, because copying is actually found within the editor. All right, now I can share my screen. I'm joining the rest of you good folks. All right, data view management, here we are. And DM accrual info. Finally, I'm there. All right, there's the data view key. To the right of it, if we make edits, we're modifying the existing data view. We leave the radio button set as Save Changes. But if I want to create a new data view and base it off of some or most of this data view, you use the Save as a new named entity. And that would give you the ability to put in a new data view key and description and making some changes to this one. Okay, nothing changing from the top. Let's scroll down to the columns section at the bottom. I'm looking at the label column, and I know there's not a primary job column, and that's something Michael Martin wanted to see. On the right-hand side, above the Group By column, click the Add button, and it's going to bring up the Select Column property box. Whenever you're searching for a column to add, work with the column name. Work with the column name. Type in primary job. Primary job. And I want you to take a look at what you're seeing. Again, this is going back to the table that we saw in the book, right? The entity, where is it pulling the info from? The classification, the column name, a description, and then what type. So I do see in the column name the primary job is pulling from employee details, classification is employee, description is primary job, and it will give me a string, an array of data. So yeah, that's good. Highlight it, and it takes you on into the property dialog box. I don't want to change the label. The width is fine. Yes, we would like it to be visible. We are not going to group, nor are we going to put any calculation. At the bottom right, simply click Add. Michael doesn't like the hire date. It's asked us to make a permanent change to it. So find in the label column, hire date, click the line to highlight it, and at the top right, just above the Group By column, there's a Delete button. Give it a click. You'll get a warning that you're about to delete that row. Want to continue? Yeah, we do. Thanks. Sure do. On the left-hand side, we're going to reorder. Let's click on reorder. Remember, you can't go by what the columns in that little table look like. It's what it appears like when we look at the reorder dialog box. This will be for visible columns. We don't have any hidden. We knew that. All right, so employee full name and then their ID. Hey, let's choose primary job and have that appear right behind the employee ID. So remember, highlight and then just click and move it into position. And I'm okay with the accrual code name and the available balances. That looks pretty good. Do a save order. Doesn't impact the table at the bottom. We know that. Over on the top right, you're ready to go ahead and click Save. You get an information bar letting you know that you've been successful. So now what we do is we give a call to Michael Martin and say, Michael, test drive this bad boy. At the top left, you got two tabs, Home and Manage Dataviews. Pull out that wallet, pay me now, pay me later. I'm going to go ahead and close my Manage Dataview tab now. That'll drop me down to Home, and I'm going to go to the main menu and sign out. Sign in as Michael Martin. Once you've validated, you have one log on tab at the top. And again, the reason for that is that it can really make a mess of your configuration work. And it can also show you erroneous information. It can skew data if you've got more than one log on screen. Did you get logged in as Michael Martin? If you did, go ahead and drop to Data Views and Reports from your main menu. Let's go into the Data View library. Remember, this Data View was under the Other category, and it was the D accrual info. Let's give that a click. Take a look at it. So Michael's looking at it, and he's thinking, yeah, all right, there's my primary job. That's looking good. I don't see the hire date. That's looking good. Yeah, that's okay. Question for you. Michael looks at it and thinks, wait a minute, primary job? I should have had Sean fix that so I wouldn't see all those duplicates in that column for primary job. What could Michael Martin do to avoid seeing all the duplicates in the primary job column? Larry, I see Larry's response, Sherrod's response, Diane, group. Yeah, group by. So let's go ahead. Let's do a group by. Okay, on the primary job, group by this column. Michael looks at this data view and thinks, you know, Sean could have done me so much better. Now that I've got all these groupings, I don't know how many people are in each group. I don't have any idea at all. What could he do to take care of that issue? Melba, you got this? Do a sum. All right, so on the grouped by, okay, go back It's not a sum. We're close. You're in the right church, wrong pew. Yeah, the count. Count. Put a count on that column. What about a sum for the available balance hours? Wonder how many total hours we have. So go over to the available balance hours, and there we'll do a sum. Whew, that's quite an amount. At the top right, save your work. I have one more question for you. Manny Martin, who is not related to Michael, it's just we hired the whole Martin clan. Manny Martin also has access to this data view. Michael just went in and gussied it up a bit with his own preferences. Does it impact Manny? Sean Ivan hears from Michael that he went in and he made all those modifications, and Sean feels a little bad. He's like, oh, if that would have been really helpful for everybody, I could have done that. In fact, why don't I go behind the scenes and I'll make a few extra changes to the data view. Will all the managers who have access to the data view see the new changes? Yes, no, why? Yes, no, why? Diane says if they, so Diane, just a little off on your wording, but I know what you mean. Again, right church, wrong pew. Yeah, the restore. Remember, they will need to restore. Now, Melba, to be clear with you, I love what you said, but I want to be perfectly clear. Yeah, they'll have to restore, which means it will take it to the view, the configuration, whatever it is, behind the scenes in the configuration that the admin has done. They'll lose their preferences that they've added, but they can easily apply those again. Does that make sense, Melba? You bet. And Melba, I love it that you're just jumping right out there in the middle of it all. Good for you. Good for all of you for hopping over and making some answers. So, you know, we've got, yeah, a little round of applause, showing a little love out there. All right, so we've got Michael semi-happy at the moment. Sherrod, I notice you're typing. So, anything for me? They cannot. They cannot. What a great question. Can an employee, let's say it this way, can an end user keep two same data views, one original and another custom? They can't. Darn it, but that's a cool idea. All right, we're going to do another data view. Michael's going to be a little bit needy once again. So I'm going to pop back over into the classroom, and we're going to take a look at the book together just to get the storyline, and then we'll get out there and we'll do some work. This is going to be page 10. It's PDF 13 if you're viewing electronically. We're going to look at how to update a business structure data view. Okay, Michael is hearing about some possible issues with employees not starting work on time and not working to the end of their shift time. Obviously, the scenario, if you're following it along, I'm throwing in the words not, because otherwise that's not a problem. Okay? So, yeah, they're not starting work on time or not working to the end of their shift. He wants to review the early out, late in exception count by department to see if there's an issue with employees working their full shifts. So he's going to take a look at that data view, and let me tell you what he's going to want. Okay? If you look, still on this page, adding a column to the data view, Michael wants us to add a column that will compare as a percentage to all exceptions to his early out, late in exception data view. So in other words, he's asking for key performance indicator data columns. And we're going to update the data view, and we're going to add 2 columns, early out exceptions as a percentage of all exceptions, and late in exceptions as a percentage of all exceptions. And then we'll also put a sum on our columns. So this is going to be a really interesting exercise working with a business structure. You should still be logged in as Michael Martin, as am I. You don't have to go all the way back out to the main menu to the data view library. We want to look at the early, late in, early out exceptions data view. So let me show you how you can get there without having to go all the way back to the main menu. Over on the left-hand side, under the home icon, it tells you you're looking at the DM accrual info data view at the moment. Click that drop-down arrow, and these are all the data views that Michael has access to. So they're listed alphabetically. Go ahead and choose the early out, late in exceptions. Let's take a look at it. First thing I notice is over on the right, we're looking at the current pay period and all home locations. Change that time period for the moment to previous pay period. Previous pay period. Yeah, now I'm seeing some data. I see there's a department column, an early out exception count, a late in exception count, and a total exception count. Are there any hidden columns? You tell me. You bet there are, folks. If you go over and click on that funnel icon, what you're seeing actually is the MVP athletic business structure. What we're doing on this data view is we are drilling down to the department to begin reporting there. So all of the hidden columns that you see are the levels above the department in the organizational tree, the business structure. And if you scroll down, you'll see then there are the 3 columns that have been added that we can see that are visible. Okay, so I want you to kind of keep it in the back of your mind about there are hidden columns, and we're going to explore why. We're also going to add those columns for Michael. Go ahead at this point and sign out as Michael Martin and sign back in as Sean Ivan. Once you're signed in, please make your way to setup. That middle column is where you find, on my system, the Display Preferences folder. Go ahead and expand it. And again, we don't need to look up the Dataview profile by first finding the display profile because we know the assignments. But that would be part of your task, right, before you even get involved with working with the Dataview. For us, we're going under Information Access to Dataview Management because this is where Dataviews are created or maintained. The name of the data view is Early Out Late In Exceptions. What column are you going to look at to find it? You guys make me proud, the label. And you know, I don't need to use the filter if it's really close. And it is. I see it. Early out, late in exceptions. Let's give it a click. And I want you to notice a couple of things. There's the data view key, the description, the label, what the end user sees. It is a business structure data view, and it is from timekeeping. All right, go to the top right, to your other left. Go to the top right and click Edit. I'm going to draw your attention to the left-hand side for a moment. Just past the description and the label on that time frame, let's change that time frame to previous pay period just so that you can see you have the ability to change the time frame. Okay, so go ahead and make it the previous pay period. We'll leave it at all home locations, but notice it says location type department. So remember, that's what we saw in the data view, and I said we saw hidden columns that were part of MVP's business structure. On that location type, click the drop-down arrow. Everything above department are the organizational entities or levels or branches of that business structure for MVP Athletic. So in other words, we are able to say at what point in the business structure we want to begin to report on. So I want you to realize just how granular your data view can be. We could have rolled it all the way up and reported at the region level, but for Michael Martin, he's a department manager. Region isn't value to him. Department is. Leave it at department, but I wanted you to see that. We know the category is timekeeping, and we understand about currency, and there's that little checkbox for the relationship roles. Scroll down to the column selections. Now, there are two scroll bars over there on the right. One that allowed you to scroll down to the column section area, and then there's a small scroll bar right inside the little table. Look, you've got some visible columns, and there are some hidden columns. Don't get rid of the columns that aren't visible because we need them there in order for the system to understand, hey, I'm looking through that business structure and I'm drilling down to that department level. So we need all those locations to remain as part of our table. What we do need, though, are a couple of new columns. To the right, go ahead and click Add, and it brings up the Select Column. Now remember, you work with the column name. So we are looking for early out as a percentage. So I'm going to type in the column name early, And then I see a few choices, so I'm going to continue to type and type early out. All right, now, just in case information in the column name truncates, you can expand your column just like you would if you were expanding an Excel spreadsheet or a Word column. So if you're like, oh, I can't see all of the column name, just expand the column. We want to do the early out exception as a percentage. So go ahead and make the selection, and it brings you to the column properties. All right, early out, yep, we want that. We want it to be visible. The width is good. For the calculate, let's get a sum. Let's go ahead and do a sum. And over on the bottom right, add your column. We need another column, so go ahead and click Add again. This time, the column name you're looking for is late in. Late in. And again, you want to do the one late in exceptions as a percentage. So click on it, and for the calculate, add the sum. And be sure and add the column. Now those are the only two columns we're going to add, but let's make sure that all of our visible columns have a sum on them. Okay, we know our percentage columns do, but looking in that table, my first column or row says early out exception count. I'm going to click on that row, and I'm going to do edit on the right-hand side. And down at the bottom, I'm just going to go down to calculate and add sum and update the column. I want you to do that for all the visible columns. Okay? Do that for all your visible columns. Highlight, edit, and use the calculate sum. Be sure and update your column. There are a couple of visible columns at the bottom. You're not going to do the one for department. Okay? Do total exception count, but not for department. Once you've done that, let's make sure that the data view has a good flow to it. So let's look at the reorder for the visible columns. That's going to be on the left-hand side. Reorder visible columns. I want the early out exception percentage to follow the early out exception count. Now once you move it into place, be sure and click on that line again to unhighlight it so that you can then highlight the late in exception as a percentage and move it into position. And once you have all of that done, you can do a save order, and at the top right, do a save. So at this point, we've done the configuration. Now let's have Michael Martin test drive it. Top left, I've got two tabs while it's coming out. I'm going to close Manage Data Views, and from my main menu, sign out. I'd like you to sign in as Michael Martin and make your way to the Data View library. So let's take a look at our handiwork and see if we have a satisfied customer or not. This data view, if you recall, fell under timekeeping category. Some things that we did, we changed the time frame. I want to remind you of that. So at the top right, previous pay period, we left it at all home locations, and now we understand about the department column. I see my early out exception count tells me there are 8 in the machine shop. As a percentage, it accounts for, it says 44% of all early out, of all exceptions. Sorry, I can't read. Late in exception count, late in exceptions as a percentage, and a total count. Now, here's what let's do. On machine shop, on that line, give it a click, and it's going to open a new window to show you the department data details. So it's telling me that out of the machine shop, my apprentice welders seem to be the issue. Wonder who those people are. Go ahead and click on apprentice welder. Just click on that job, and now you can see who the employees are, how many exceptions they have. There are early out exceptions as a percentage, and their total exception count. And you were able to get very granular into that information. How do y'all do out there? How do you do with that? Anybody getting excited about Dataviews? Gosh, I hope you are. Now listen, if that got your motor to humming, if that got the motor going, let's just hit it into high gear. This next exercise is my favorite exercise. I can't hardly wait to even get to it. Okay, so I am going to stop sharing my screen and join you over in the classroom for just a moment with the book. And let me tell you what we're going to do next. We're going to create an employee data view. And folks, normally this class, it gives us time to get 3 data views done. But if you can create an employee data view, you'll have no issue creating a business structure data view. Okay, so remember, these tenets are yours till the end of your business day today, and you can continue to play and practice and just see what the world of data views has to offer. But let me get you excited about this last one that we're going to do together. Go ahead and join me in the book. This is going to be on page 14. If you're viewing electronically, it's PDF 17, and let's get a storyline. The storyline is that MVP is going to be rolling out an employee data view with accrual information so that employees can check their accrual balances. Imagine them being able to check their own accrual balances, not having to go and reach out to their manager or payroll or HR. We're going to make the employee able to fish. Okay, give a man a fish, feed him for a meal. Teach him how to fish, feed him for a lifetime. Sean Ivan gets a request to create the accrual balance data view for employees, and you can see on the exercise there are quite a few columns that are wanting to be added. We're going to make it a little simpler just so that we have the time. Here's why this is such a cool exercise. Not only are we going to create the data view, but after it's created, we're going to reach out to the employee, and they are going to be able to add that data view as a tile to their home page. Now understand that has to do with access rights and being able to personalize their home page, access rights. But this is such a cool exercise. Let's do it. I want you to go ahead and log in as Sean Ivan. Okay, go ahead and log in as Sean Ivan. I'm going to share my screen as well. Once you're logged in as Sean Ivan, go ahead and make your way to setup. I'm trying to get my screen to display. There we go, finally. All right, so I'm going to catch up with you. There we go. Hey, you got one tab up at the top. Did you check for that? All right, if you're out there in setup, where do we go first? Okay, where do you work to create or maintain data views? See Ruth typing. Where do we go? She says we need to be in display preferences. Sharat says data view management. And Diane, I notice you're typing if you agree. You're not able to get back in. Try closing it and reaccessing it. If it continues to be problematic, Diane, remember I'm not really in a big position to assist you. You're welcome to watch what I do, keeping in mind that KVC support is there to help out. Reach out to them. And then, even if you don't do the exercises in the class, you can practice outside of the class. The steps are really well written. I'm sorry, Diane. Hopefully, it's just how you're holding your mouth. Sometimes it's that highly technical stuff, right? All right. Perfect. So yeah, we need to go to Data View Management in the Display Preferences. Give that a click, and at the top right, you're going to click Add. And the first thing you have to address is if it is an employee view or a business structure view. This one is employee. We need a data view key. Okay, so for our data view key, let's type EE underscore accrual underscore info. So EE underscore accrual underscore info. In the description, we'll make it simple. Say made in class. Made in class. And for the label, this is what our end users are going to see. We're going to put in there employee accrual info. All right, data view description label handled. For the time frame, we'll leave it at the current pay period. We'll leave it at hyperfind all home. Understand that when the employee looks at the data view, they're not going to be able to see accrual info for other employees, just themselves. Okay, so all home is fine, all home locations. Category, change it to other. Other, and then we'll leave the defaults logged in and enabled. Pull your scroll bar down to the column section, and on the right-hand side, we're going to add 3 columns very quickly. Go ahead and click Add. In the column name, you're looking for employee full name. Employee full name. Should only get 1 result back on that, so select it and add the column. Go ahead and click Add again. For the column name, you're looking for accrual code name. Accrual code name. This time it came back with 2 entities. Okay, so we don't want the transactions, we want the accrual code. So go ahead and choose that one and add your column. And we're going to add 1 more. In the column name, you're looking for available balance in hours. Available balance. And actually, after I typed available, it just drilled it right down. So notice it's coming from the accrual daily balance entity. Choose the one that says available balance hours. And go ahead and add the column. Now, let's check the reorder on the left-hand side for those visible columns, and just make sure we've got the employee's name, their accrual code name, and the available balance in hours. That should be the order. You should be okay. Close that window, and at the top right, do a save. So we've got a little data view that we put together. Now remember, it needs to be in the data view profile, right? So I want you to go up to your house icon on the left-hand side. Give that a click. It's going to take it back out to setup. Display preferences is still open. And starting at the top, there's display profile. And then the next item down, data view profile. Let's go there. Michael Martin's data view profile was manu underscore data view underscore profile. You can scroll for it, or if you see it close in your list, under the name column, go ahead and make that selection, and then at the top right, do an edit. We've been here already before. I just remind you that it's a matter of looking at the table below the description field and checking off the data view that I want you to have. They're listed alphabetically. You need to find employee accrual info. Check it off and click Save up at the top right. You should get an information bar letting you know you successfully saved that profile. And that is it as far as granting access. Remember, the Menu Data View profile is assigned in the display profile, which is assigned in Michael's people record, so nothing to do there. All right? Now, close the Data View profile tab at the top. Sign out as Sean Ivan. And I want you to sign in as Molly Adams, because here's what's going to happen. We're going to let Molly know, hey, listen, we've got this employee accrual info data view, and you'll be able to view your accrual data on your home page. But log in. We're going to get that added. Okay, we're going to set it up first as a chart and then make it available on your home page. Molly, M-O-L-L-Y. Molly Adams. Password is still the same. Nothing's changed there. When you get logged in, keep in mind she's an hourly employee. And you're looking at the home page, and you see there's some tiles on there about the time card, notification, time off, schedule. There's a little picture of Molly, my attendance, and punches. To the top right, you should see the bell icon. That's the control center bell. There's a blue question mark that's for online help, and there's a blue gear. I want you to click the gear. That is the tile library. It's going to slide out the tile panel, and you can see that it says there are 9 standard tiles, and the ones that are checked off are the ones that are on our home page. But we want to add a new one. So scroll all the way down to the bottom, and there's a section called My Charts, and it says 0. She doesn't have any. Just to the right of that, there's this little blue grouping of boxes and a plus sign. If you point to it, it says Create Chart. Well, let's go there. That's exactly what we're going to do. Now you're going to get a Create Chart slide-out panel. Hi, Michelle. You okay? Did you get lost? Let me check. No need to apologize. Just remember you've got the tenant. Okay, we're getting close to wrapping it up for our session as well. It ends at 12. So thanks for attending, and I'll keep an eye out for you for future classes. All right, the rest of you good folks, create chart. It says what source, what data view do you want to use? So click the drop-down arrow, and we're going to use the one for employee accrual info that we just built. What type of chart? So let's go with horizontal bar. I know you want the pie, but keep in mind that pie is used with analytics. Scroll on down, it says select your data. So this is about categorizing what metric. Okay, so on the category, I want to see the accrual code name. And for the metric, I want to be able to see my available balance in hours. Give me a sum, and the system will put in a value calculation according to your data view you built. Now on the limit data, that's off by default, but what it could be used for if I were a manager and I was interested. Maybe I want to know a range of the top 5 balances or the bottom 5. That's what limiting. We're not going to use that. As to the title, yeah, we'll go with available balance by hours. That's fine. We're going to take all those selected items and ask it to display. Scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a color bar. That color bar, if you give it a click, there are 4 different groups of colors. Pick your color. Pick your poison. What do you want your chart coloring to look like? The graphic bars. What kind of color charts do you want? And once you've done that, do save. Now, if you look on your home page, you may need to scroll down a little bit, but you should see your available balance in hours as a chart. I'm seeing my vacation, my personal leave, any lost vacation and sick hour balances. And if you click on any horizontal bar, it's going to take you over to the data view and give you a different look at it. Now, of course, it's going to be filtered according to the bar that you selected, but how slick is that, folks? And if you want to get back to your home page, you just go up to the top left and you click the house button, and it takes you back. And Molly can only see for herself. Now, I'm going to pop over into the class with you good folks. Now, maybe I'm just a total geek. I think I kind of am. But that just gets me just way too excited for words. What'd y'all think of that exercise? Anybody got some ideas about, yeah, you liked it, huh? So can you imagine being able to create charts based off of data views and placing them on the home page? Now, keep in mind it's always about access rights, but how cool that is. I love that. Hey, listen, this brings us to the end of our time. So I want to wrap it up by reminding you your tenant is available for the remainder of your business day. There's another exercise working with the business structure. I just want to say, if you follow the steps, it's pretty good. The steps are very accurate, but you may not get information. And I've reported that to our course writers, and they're looking into it. So don't immediately assume that there is a configuration problem. The other thing, to wrap it up, I always encourage you, if you have questions, comments, concerns, insults, hey, throw them my way. There's my email in text chat. And be sure and